We may not have been in work yesterday, but all that means is that we didn't have to slog through a show without Craig Way. Because now we're joined by the Texas High School Football Hall of Famer himself on the hotline. We're joined by Craig Way. Craig, did you have a fine and relaxing Labor Day weekend?
Because when you think of slogging, my name immediately comes to mind. I get that. I understand that. I was actually doing a little bit of work. I was anchoring our coverage down here in Austin on our radio network for Tom Herman's first in-season news conference of the year. So it's kind of like closer to that, hey, folks, this is really about to happen. You're going to have Texas and UTEP on Saturday night if things continue to go. And I know there's a lot of people that are falling to the I'll believe it when I see it category. Remember, we were like that about high school football 2 weeks ago. So, fortunately, that's happened. So maybe that also happens at the collegiate level this Saturday night here in Austin.
Yes, the mighty Miners of UTEP coming to town. And look, you got to watch out. They're 1-0, and Texas hasn't even won a game this year.
Hey, how many times before, going back years ago, and then even the year before that, how many times did we say the name Deion Hagan?
Mm-hmm.
And what he was doing and smashing all records at Parkland High and El Paso rushing records. I mean, local hero, and he rushes for over 100 yards last week. So they're pretty pumped up about him coming into the game on Saturday. It's certainly someone of which to take note for the Texas defense, which, you're right, will be taking the field for the first time.
Absolutely. Craig, I want to ask you about something I just got done talking about, which is, we saw a lot of the ranked teams across the state. We saw what I think could be categorized as Texas high school football chaos. But I think when you look a little bit closer, you start to and you start to measure up against the classifications. In many ways, it seems like it held to chalk as far as not necessarily the better team winning. I don't necessarily want to go out on that limb, but what I will say is it seemed like when in doubt this past weekend, go with the larger team, go with the team with the bigger classification. And especially here in the early goings, I think that it's important to remind people that we're not dealing with necessarily apples to apples comparisons, and that there's because these cross-divisions, cross-classification games, you do have to take that into account whenever you're analyzing these results.
I don't think there's any doubt about that, Tep. And these interclassification battles quite often you're right, you can't do a true apples-to-apples comparison. In fact, my partner on my show, Jeff House, is fond of using the word, you're comparing apples to pomegranates when he says it. And in this case, the larger pomegranates were going to be the ones that were going to bear a little fruit quicker, because they're teams that might be a little more athletic, deeper in number, and not only that, in these pandemic times, you're going to lean on guys who are more proven commodities in terms of their size and athletics. Now, there are obvious, exceptions to the rule. 2 weeks ago, we saw Shiner, look very impressive to a state-ranked higher classification team in 3A in Hallettsville, but those are going to be more the exception than the rule, unless you have a huge difference between, say, a lower classification school that just is head and shoulders above a team that may be in a larger classification, but just doesn't have the track record or the numbers or the talent to stick up with them. So I don't think we should be shocked by it. It is amusing, though, when we see that chaos, because when I see that chaos happen, I think of you and Steph, and I think, okay, yeah, these guys are going to roll up their sleeve and just guffaw at what they have to do in putting together a new poll.
Yeah, I'll tell you, it wasn't necessarily the most fun in the world to sort through 3A Division II, because it was just absolute calamity, calamity upon calamity there. We're talking with Craig Way, the Texas High School Football Hall of Famer, here on Texas Football Today. Get involved with the conversation at #TFToday. And so now we're through to week 3 of the Texas high school football season. But before we get to that, there is obviously it's a notable day for every other school, the 6A and 5A schools across the state, as they are now able to start practice. They were able to start practice yesterday. If they wanted to work on Labor Day, many of those schools did in fact go to practice on Monday. When you have had these conversations with these coaches, I know you have a number of your coaches on your show and talk with them. My sense among coaches is the overwhelming feeling is just relief that they're out there and that they're practicing at all. Are you getting these same reports from whenever you're talking with folks, especially down there in the Austin area?
Absolutely. Drew Sanders, the head coach at Vandegrift down here, is supposed to have a really good team and another opportunity to go deep into the playoffs. And he said, quite frankly, here's that phrase again. I was wondering if we were going to get here, meaning just to start a practice. And he said, I had to, keep from getting down myself about things and stay upbeat and keep telling my kids, let's keep working. It'll find a way to get through to it. So you have that. Carl Absek at Cedar Park, very similar type conversation. Todd Dodge at Westlake said all he continued to preach was, stay with the process, keep working. It's going to work out. All three of those coaches, by the way, and there were several others in the greater Austin area, but all three of those coaches in specific, all with very good teams, and they all had practices beginning at 6 o'clock in the morning yesterday, or 5:30 in the morning, I think, in the case of Westlake. So they were at it dark and early, so to speak, and everybody very, very excited. I know at Westwood, at Cedar Ridge, and several of the other schools around the area, they were very, very pumped up to be even getting on the practice field and going to work.
I'll give you 3 games coming up here in week 3, and I'll let you teleport to one of them. We get you the Craigway teleporter again. You don't have to drive, because I know that, if I say you got to drive up 35 to get to a game, you're like, no, I just won't. So you can just teleport there. You can either teleport to Albany to watch Hamlin and Albany. You can teleport to San Marcos to watch Corpus Christi, Calallen, and La Vega. Or you can teleport to Borden County, to beautiful Gale, Texas, to watch Borden County and Rankin. Which of those 3 are you picking?
I think that I'm actually going to teleport because, you could drive from here to San Marcos. You wouldn't even need to teleport. It'd be pretty easy. But could be pretty entertaining game with that matchup going on there. It could be interesting. I think I've got to teleport for Rankin in Borden County. I mean, if we're going to get a good indication of some of the best 6-man ball in the state of Texas by going to that game, if we were looking at it. Now, all 3, I think, have their merit and their value. I think, we could see possibly another surprise or 2. Melissa Pottsboro could be a one to watch as well. But of the 3 you mentioned, probably I'd be inclined to go with Rankin-Borden County.
Finally, Craig, I do want to ask you about the game that you are going to call, hopefully, knock on wood, this Saturday as the Texas Longhorns welcome in the UTEP Miners. Now, it is worth mentioning, UTEP is 0-3 all-time against Texas. I believe this Texas. I haven't seen the latest AP rankings. This might actually be the lowest ranked Texas team that has played UTEP. They've been number 2, number 11, number 10 in their time. My question for you is: Are you expecting a sharp Texas team on Saturday, or do you think that in many ways, like we've seen with all sports whenever they get going after the pandemic break, are you expecting a relative sense of sloppiness, at least early?
Yeah, the easy answer is to say I don't know what to expect, with regard to it. But I know they're fired up about it. I know they've worked very hard. They haven't had any COVID cases in a while, and they haven't had any real major injuries. There were only 3 guys even on the injury reports. 2 of them are doubtful, but it's looking like Delia Deaway, who was cleared to practice, could resume, and that would put him back in the mix of the rotation for linebacking thing. Otherwise, everybody else is ready to go. So I think that's a good thing. It's probably a good thing that they're not playing a world beater opponent. Now, give UTEP their due. They have played a game, and coaches always say, that old thing about improving most from week 1 to week 2. They do have a game in hand, and they have their struggles for a time with Stephen F. Austin. but then they got it back together, and their defense played well in the second half. So I give them that. But like I said, from the Texas perspective, I'm sure it's probably a good thing that they aren't playing a major Power 5 opponent coming out of this pandemic, having had no spring practice, having not been able to get full team workouts underway till they got into August. So it's probably a good thing in that. So while I'm not sure what to expect, I think it might not be as awful as coming out of a pandemic.
And now, finally, before I let you go, I have to make sure I date you for a little bit. What year is this for you with the Longhorns radio broadcast?
It had to go there, didn't you?
Sorry about
that. No, actually, I'm excited about it. This is actually my 19th season in the play-by-play chair for football. When we get to basketball, it'll be my 20th because that's where the calendar flipped from when I took over the play-by-play. But it is my 33rd season on the network and my 29th season in the football broadcast booth. So, yeah, I've been around a while.
You can hear his dulcet tones calling the Miners and the Longhorns Saturday on the Longhorn Radio Network. And, of course, find him on The Horn in Austin every day on Light the Tower and High School Scoreboard Live. Friday nights, 11 p.m., Fox Sports Southwest. Craig, appreciate your time, my friend. I will see you Friday, and so I can wish you a good call then. So I'm not going to wish you a good call yet.
Have the coffee brewed or have Hardigan ready to go and run down the coffee for you again like she did last week, and we'll both knock it out.
That sounds good, man. I'll talk to you later.
You bet.